Hello, I am Juanacho, and welcome to my beginning series of a podcast series. Full disclaimer, I am really gonna make a review kind of podcast for this first one. Basically, it's gonna be somewhat of a review and not so much just a long podcast talking about multiple things. I will try that in the future, though. I will try talk about events that are happening and or some little news here and there, whatever picks out my eye, really. Just to be completely honest, I'm not really gonna do everything that pops out because there's other big podcasters that do that already. I want to talk about whatever I like and whatever I feel like would be useful to put out for the internet. But my name is Juanacho. You can call me Squishy for short. um yeah, I'm a, this is the start to my podcast series. If you do like it, you can feel free and drop a like button down below. Drop a like button. You can drop a like and a comment on what I should start a podcast on next, or just let me know how I did overall. Positive vibes, bros. um, Letting you know now, this is gonna be like like a bare bones, no edit, no fancy tracks, nothing. This is just gonna be my bare to the bone first podcast, and the main reason why I'm doing it like this is because I want to slowly grow and find better ways to make my podcast better, getting a better microphone for podcasting, getting a better setup, better computer, a better webcam, a better everything, a better background, just overall, just a great time. Also, this allows me to talk to my community whenever I start building up a community, at least lets me talk to you guys directly, read your comments, answer some questions if you guys drop any questions, and overall, just have a great time and hopefully be someone that you guys can watch and laugh at or just watch and relate to. Yeah. Other than that, this podcast is again my first one, so cut me some slack. But as always, feel free to subscribe, drop a like and a comment down below. It really means a lot to me. It lets me know that you guys are really interested in this podcast series and or just new to it, I guess you could say. But other than that, I think that covers our bases, and yeah, we're going to go. Sorry, I just had to do something real quick. I put my phone on silent so that we don't get interrupted. But like I said, we are going to be talking specifically about Bethesda and their famously known Fallout series. Now, the reason why I just had like an epiphany and just was like, let's do the podcast, was because Bethesda as a whole was overall a great company and have made great games back then. But now recently, games like the Fallout series have gone to shit, dude. 76 was a huge disaster when I heard from Angry Joe that 76 was going to be more of a co op slash PvP game. And I'm like, that's a big step, Bethesda. It's not like you didn't decide to try co op, see how that goes, and then maybe step up to multiplayer. No, you just fucking grab that idea by the balls, dude. Like, that was a terrible, terrible approach. And the reason why I say this is because so far you've done great, somewhat great for the Fallout series, all up the way up to Fallout New Vegas, because Fallout 4 is trash in my opinion. But we'll get into that later. You've had a great idea. You've had a solid war connection when it okay. Also, I'm gonna say this now. It's a podcast. I wasn't originally wanting to record my face, but I can't exactly what you call it, like upload just a sound clip of me talking for an hour to the internet on YouTube. I don't think I can do that, at least. I tried, it didn't work, so we had to improvise, and we're using Riverside. I heard from a dude, he used it. Sound looked pretty simple, so I'm hopped on it here, and we're doing this. So full disclaimer or whatever, you don't need to watch my face. If you do, then that's fine. But if you don't, also fine. You could have me as background noise, or if you're busy doing something and you want someone to like talk to you, I did quotations, you could have me playing and I'll just talk to you, even though it's a really one-sided conversation and I'm just talking over whatever the fuck you're doing, like almost looks like narrating your situation. But that's not important. You can have me in the background playing as white noise when you go to sleep, or just in general, whatever you're doing. If you want, as at least I can get the views, and you guys can just listen to a young kid just talk about very specific games and overall just whatever the fuck he wants. But anyways, with all that out of the way, let's talk about New Vegas. Again, another spoiler. There's going to be spoilers ahead for New Vegas story, Fallout 4 story. I don't know much about 76. I don't give a shit about 76. It was such a terrible game. But spoilers, all that. Take everything in this podcast with a grain of salt if you can. But New Vegas, personally for me, was an outstanding game. Everything just felt great. Um, weapons were nice. Um, weapons were nice. What else? Story, characters, companions, factions. Just overall, everything felt nice. And this is an old game. This game came out for the PlayStation 3, and we're now in the era that we're playing PlayStation 5 games and PlayStation 4 updated games and shit. And overall, I still feel like New Vegas, if it was pulled out from the shelf, painted with a new coat basically and put on the market, people would buy that shit in a heartbeat because it's just overall an amazing game, dude. You really can't beat it. But anyways, continuing on. Sorry for oozing over. Fallout New Vegas will take you a very long while because unlike 4 or 76, it's not almost open world. It's more or less linear, but at the same time, it's still open world. As in, you could pause the main quest, pick up some side quests, literally any corner you go, and then do those, and you could come back to the main quest, and you could probably be way above what your game would normally think it would be. A prime example would be, again, spoilers. You're playing the game, and you have to kill a guy named Benny. Benny is in the New Vegas Strip in a casino, and the casino has rules that you can't allow. There's no permitted weapons allowed. So, what can you do? Well, if you did what I said, and let's say you play the game for a shit ton of hours, and then got back into the main story, you could probably have your sneak high enough, sorry, to so that you can have you know, a lot of weapons in, like suppressed pistols, knives, switchblades, katanas, power fist, whatever. Of course, in the New Vegas strip, they don't take away your power armor. So you could just use a power armor weapon as well, maxed with your power armor, and you'll be sitting good. But overall, like I said, you could do side quests for a lot of the game and then come back with better weapons, companions, or gear, and you could probably stroll through the main story. That's what I'm kind of doing. I'm trying to balance the main story and doing all the side quests. Of course, a lot of the side quests that I've been doing are for more faction based quests, but we'll get into that later in this podcast slash review. Overall, the game was amazing. 10 out of 10. Um, if I had to change one or several things from the game, would be the Brotherhood of Steel scribe mission or quest, sorry, where you have to find a virus from that's jumping from between computers. What's the problem with that? The problem with that is that the fucking virus never stays in the same computer. So you can tell them once, and the beginning was in the top left corner, second was bottom middle, and then the third one you don't know. You'd launch the mission again, so you only find out that the initial virus, the first one, moved positions. So now it was not in the first place. It's not like in the first computer. Now it's by like, let's say the 12th computer. That was a pain in the ass to deal with because it was not like it would stay in the same place over and over again. That never happened. And if that was the case, you were pretty fucking lucky for that shit to happen. So what a lot of I did, I tried to do it for hours and nothing worked. What ended up happening was that I had to go online. I'm like, how do I do this? Because it was leaning towards a quest so that you can kick out the elder scribe in the area and putting a new one in so that the Brotherhood still can actually walk out of the fucking bunker now. Because ever since they got taken out from the NCR by like the power plant, everything's just gone to shit now. Usually, so they want to grow some legs and fucking walk out, but the Elder Scribe doesn't want that because they're like, we can't go because of blah blah blah, and you had to find a reason to kick him out or whatever. And it was in like there was some data in the vault shit, but the fire was in the vault, so you had to deal with that first. And a lot of people, what they did was they basically talked to the dude, and basically how it goes is he'll walk to a monitor, look at it for like 7 or 10 seconds, and after he's done looking at it, he'll be like, the virus jumped. And from then on, you would have like a minute to try and locate those other three viruses. What people did was they talked to the guy. They waited till he looked at the monitor and was about to lean back and speak, because then they'll pause the game, make a quick save, and then when he came back and says the virus jumped, you would look through the computers, and let's say you found the first virus by computer 4 on like the right side, then you'll start there, and let's say you couldn't finish it, the virus jumped and you have to talk to him again, you'd just reload the save. You'll know where the first one is because if nothing's changed, you'd go to it, get it, and then you'd have a lot more time to get the other ones. And personally, I tried it, but for some odd reason, it didn't work the first time. What I mean by that is I could have done that. And let's say I saved right before the dude talked, and the first virus was located by the second computer on the right side. I'd go do that. The second one, sorry, could be on the back middle one, and then that's it. I reload the save again, and then the computer didn't start, or sorry, the virus wasn't on the right side. It was like God knows where the fuck it just wanted to go. So then that whole mechanic or loophole bugged on me. Like it worked the first time I did it, which was like on the actual PlayStation 3. I had a physical copy and everything, but then when I played on the PlayStation Now version of it, it just didn't work. I tried it again. I probably tried that mission for like another 20 minutes and I managed to get it. Fucking Christ, thank God I did. I was going to lose my mind. But other than that, basically everything else worked like a charm. It worked like as intended. The game ran smoothly. There was no bugs, no issues. The game looked amazing and felt amazing, even though it was on like a old gen console. Now, the fact that they didn't make a remastered of it just yet, at least, kind of bugged me down because the problem now was the fact that New Vegas is being streamed on PlayStation. Now, is that a bad idea? Absolutely not. But is it a great one? Not really. And the main reason why I say that is because if you're someone like me and don't have a stable internet connection, your experience with the game is probably not going to be great. Uh yeah, it's not going to be great. And the reason why I say that is because if your internet isn't stable enough to keep running the game, what ends up happening is that the game would crash slash disconnect and stop. So if you did a big boss, barely made it out alive with like your Stimpack sunsets or consumables, uh, nothing. What basically ended up happening is you lost all that progress, and you would have to do it again. And dude, that was that got me furious. It was absolutely boiling blood pissed off because since you're streaming the game, you have to worry about the fact that your internet could drop out of nowhere. Your internet could turn off out of nowhere, or your internet gets so bad that the controls register whole seconds late. That's asking for a death sentence in New Vegas. And considering that, like, some of my interactions when my internet turned to shit was when I was about to jump in a cool fight. I had everything planned out, and then I tried to save the game right before it kicked me out because it has a timer. It's like you have like 20 seconds before we kick you out of your game. So I tried to fix it right before the game. Uh, the game like almost I dude, it was just not a great idea. Nowadays, Bethesda apparently is making a New Vegas 2, which is like okay, to be clear, I don't know if it's actually called like Fallout New Vegas 2 or if it's like New Vegas Remastered or whatever. But if it's a remastering, great. If it's a second installment of the same game, perfect. That does not bother me one single bit. But the problem that does bother me, excuse me, is that if it's a remastered version, I don't want them to touch anything that made the game amazing. And what I mean by that is, let's say that in New Vegas you had like, let's say that in New Vegas there was like, I don't know. I just don't want them to change anything. If it's like a visual look and having like, better textures and shit, go ahead. That's all right. But don't change any of the fucking monsters, mobs, weapons, and shit. Because the last thing I want is like a copy and paste of Fallout 4, which personally was a terrible game because they've changed the game so much and the game just didn't feel new. It didn't feel refreshing. Um, was I looking for something new in Fallout 4? Kinda, yeah. And what I mean by new, I mean like another great story, cool companions, game, etc., etc., all along those lines. And it was a complete fuck, dude. It was a complete bust, dude. It was not at all like what you would expect, or personally what I was expecting. And Fallout 4, or sorry, God, no. In New Vegas, the story goes that you're a carrier trying to deliver something called the Platinum Chip. Basically, this Platinum Chip was super like wanted because of the fact that in the strip, a person that's like in a coma like state called House wants it to upgrade the Securitrons or the security bots. And what would they do? Well, they'll give them grenade launchers as their main weapon, and then if if fucking, let's say, like, the they needed to pull out the big guns, it would be rocket launchers, dude. That sounded fucking amazing. I think it was that, or sorry, the base tier weapon was like a laser rifle, a grenade launcher, and then the big guns were just the fucking missiles. Either way, this platinum chip was a lot. It was worth a lot. So what they wanted, or what happened, was that you got shot in the face slash head by a guy named Benny in a striped suit holding a legendary pistol named Maria, who has engravings and overall a cool fucking thing. You'll know why I went into specific with with that. Basically, some doctor found you and you are born in Good Springs. You're born, or you create your character in Good Springs. This doctor fixes you up, gives you what you had and stuff, and you go off. And from then on, you just explore, or you do what I do and try and follow the main quest to a point where you have a lot of other quests and you go off and doing that. Personally, when I started playing Fallout New Vegas again, I immediately wanted companions because, again, this game is being streamed and my internet isn't great. So what ends up happening is my internet would completely cut out and fights, and then I couldn't aim. Plus, I'm not that great. My accuracy isn't that great. So companions always was a big plus. Uh, never in a million years would I say there were a bug, unless you're talking about Fallout 4. But we'll get to that when we get there. You had amazing companions like um Gee, I even went so far to write down the names of the fucking companions and Fallout. The companions for New Vegas, or the main permanent eight ones, were Rex, Cassidy, Raul, Lily, Boone, Eddie, Veronica, and Arcade. I never knew who Arcade was, but he's apparently like uh, a main character. But each one of these characters slash companions gave you a massive perk that was amazing depending on your playstyle, of course. My playstyle was more of a hit from the far with explosions or snipers and stuff, and overall, like, kind of good with every weapon. So, what I went with Boone and Eddie. Boone gives you a highlight around targets, as in, if the target's hostile and alive, it'll be a red hue on them. While if it's like they're sleeping, unnoticed you, or just non-lead or non-hostile, sorry, it was a green hue around them. Um, that was Boone. Eddie basically made it so that your compass picks up targets on a longer radius. That was another great thing because for my playstyle, I would always try to sneak around targets and shoot them in the head and get that cool crit damage or whatever. So having Eddie was an almost absolute must because by the time, let's say, you don't play with Eddie and they're close enough that like they could detect you, and then your whole stealth bonus basically gets thrown out the window. But these characters were amazing. Fucking Lily was like half like a night ghoul or a nightkin, sorry. She was a nightkin. And basically whenever you crouched, you would turn invisible, and because you're invisible and stealthed, you can do surprise attack damage or some shit like that. Rex was a cool mechanical robotic dog shit that had like a human brain. I don't know what he brings to the table in terms of like his perks or whatever. Veronica was an amazing character too. She was a mobile crafting bench, and Cassidy was just a regular like caravan person. Raul was like a half mutant person that apparently tried to get killed and failed miserably, but that's really about it. And for some specs, Fallout New Vegas made around $300 million and sold 5 million copies. A pretty big amount. Fallout 4. Where do I where do I start? That's the big question. Let's talk about like some good things they did. The main good thing they did in Fallout 4 was that you have a lot, and I mean uh lots of more customizations to the game. You could customize your character's nose, your nose bridge, your cheek, your cheekbone, your jawbone, your fucking forehead, everything, uh, everything in between. Basically, you could play there for fucking hours and make your character look like a fucking Superman, Batman, whoever the fuck. And then if you have some stupid goofy mods, you can make those faces more animated or like just overall a great time. What's another cool thing about the game? Uh, mm, Good question. I think that's about it. That's really well. I guess the way that you interact with NPCs by pressing one of the four buttons, and each button correlating to like a certain tone. So you could be a sarcastic prick. You could be an honest, neutral person. You could be a harsh, honest person, or like with some other NPCs, you could be persuasive, or you could try to romance them. That was another cool thing I liked because from from that game, whatever you said at the screen, you immediately said to the other person. So there was no bullshit of like, it was like, oh, I like your apples. It's like those apples look kind of good. Like there was nothing like that. That's not in the Fallout games. Whatever you said goes to the NPC, and the NPC registers that, and then of course they'll respond to you depending on your theme. Let's talk about the biggest, worst thing ever: the camp system in Fallout 4. Oh boy, the so it's not much of a camp as it is like a residence. Basically, what they added new to Fallout 4 was that you can make a little residence at the beginning of where you spawned in, like your little hometown. Of course, as you travel along the map and stuff, which was fucking huge, might I add, you could make other operations and other settlements elsewhere. The problem with these settlements is, first off, they were very confusing. Maybe, I think, I'm not too sure. Again, I've only played like Fallout 4 for like a week at tops, and that was about it. But Fallout 4 was the weirdest game I've seen because of that mechanic. And the reason why I'm saying it was such a weird mechanic was because not only did you have to go literally scrap everything if you wanted your maximum resources or whatever, you have to scrap everything, but you could only scrap it to like a certain area. So what would that mean? You could have that same settlement right next to a gas station, and you couldn't harvest the gas station because the border on where you could harvest everything relies within the settlement. So, if your settlement is in the middle of like a resource rich area, you couldn't access, from what I remembered at least, you couldn't just pick up those giant barks of trees. You couldn't do any of that. Not only that, the fucking building mechanic was just that terrible idea. Was it a cool idea on paper? Yeah, that sounds pretty fucking cool. Was it great in practice? Not really. No. You would have a fence, right? There's a fence. This is like, well, you can't see it, but let's imagine you have a fence. Your camera angle is not like your character walking or whatever. You could place the fence floating midair if all you fucking care about. So you for stuff like a fence and all that, they have to stick to the floor or a solid floor. So you could put it like right on the edge of something to keep something out. But the problem is there's no fucking like built-in clicking mechanism. As in, you could put a fence down and you would think you'd put the same fence down next to it to close it. No, it's off by like 2 inches, or it's not. Like your OCD kind of messes with you and says like that's not straight. So you could put down a shit ton of fences, but they don't link together. So it's not like you place down the first one, you'll pop the second one, and it'll be green, and you could tilt it so that you could have like a sharp 90-degree turn. You could have like a straight 180-degree line or whatever. None of that happens. So you would have to get in the right angle, place it down, and they keep doing that over and over and over again. And again, like how the camera angle worked, that was a nightmare to fucking do, dude. And then that's not the only problem. Having to build a house and then like trying to get another one on top, or having to put like a floor down and then build on top. It was like raft where you would have to place a pillar in every corner and blah blah blah. Like, dude, cut the shit out. That was a terrible idea. Was it again great on paper? Absolutely, but did it come to fruition as they wanted to? No, that was an absolutely no situation right there. The biggest no you could ever get from a game like that. Because of it, that game immediately struck off on a bad note. Another thing they took out and made the game kind of like less challenging was the fact that you don't have weapon integrity. And what I mean by that is if you play New Vegas, you'll know that they'll tell you their condition. A gun's condition basically affects how accuracy it'll affect its accuracy, damage, and overall performance. Because let's say a weapon is so badly damaged, your weapon can jam. You would have to reload it again. You would have to clear the chamber. You would have to do whatever the fuck you have to do to clear that weapon. And since it's damaged so much, your damage output gets reduced by a visible amount. And by visible amount, I mean like you could, but let's say you have a full-fledged German rifle, right? It's not damaged, supreme condition. It could one shot an armored, leathered, uh, like Raider, one shot it, stealth and everything. Now take that same rifle, condition barely like at the point of breaking itself, you would have to use multiple shots. And that's even if your fucking shots land, because the accuracy is affected by your weapon's condition. I think. I'm not too sure. But anyways, they took that out of the game. And the problem I have with that mechanic being outside of the game is it's not challenging. It's not as challenging, excuse me, to say the least. Because now you don't have to worry about either having a repair kit, talking to some no like so in New Vegas, this is what I feel like every player would do is if their weapon is kind of getting at the point of like they want to fix it, their options are find a repair bench and create a repair tool, find the same weapon and infuse it, which is the easiest one, know somebody that you would have to pay caps to to fix it, or just not use the weapon anymore until you try and figure out any of those other options out. Those were the options. Now with Fallout 4, that whole thought process is right out the window. And because it's out the window, a lot of the weapons you get, like the reskinned weapons, you'd almost have no reason to hold on to them. So you'll probably take out their ammo, dump the weapon and walk away, or collect it and sell it for money. Or if the weapon has a cool part that you want to add to your gun, you would only take it for that. And then again, this is a weapon. This weapon has weight to it. So it could be the difference between having another core for your power armor or just having another weapon you could sell for a couple of caps. You know, that was a pretty big thing I noticed that kind of bothered me a bit. Another thing that extremely bothers me is legendary weapons. They don't look any different from regular weapons. Now, what is the problem with that? The problem with that now is that when you try and look at a legendary weapon, you don't see a legendary weapon. In Fallout 4, you don't have that anymore. And the reason why I'm saying this is because in Fallout 4, you could have an awesome legendary weapon and then have it almost look exactly, if not identical, to the same counterpart of it. Like I said earlier, Maria is a 9 millimeter pistol. You get a 9 millimeter pistol at the start of the game. What's different about it, Maria isn't just pure black with green dots to simulate your iron sight. Instead, it's what is it? Instead of that, it's um what is it? Maria is engraved and is somewhat of a gold bronze color. That's a pretty fucking cool, thing, dude. Having a weapon that is like in a different color and stuff and texture and shit, absolutely sign me up. Again, overall amazing. That's not in Fallout 4. What you have in Fallout 4 now is instead um you have a 9 millimeter, sorry, a 10 millimeter pistol, which is very bulky, by the way. This thing takes up like the whole bottom corner of your screen, which is like, why? Why make a weapon that fucking big to shoot just 10 millimeter? Like, what? To me, that makes kind of no sense to me personally, but to each their own. But other than that, another big thing that bothered me was that again, all the weapons look the same, even if they are legendary. What the fuck? That's boring, dude. How you're telling me after a fight, a big like super mutant with like four suicide mutants next to him, I get this same looking 9 millimeter SMG with a different name and a star to its name, a different character to the name, and just overall different slash pathetic stats. And I spent $60 on this game. Like, what the fuck? That was terrible. No, like, no, that was a huge no from me. Whenever I started seeing that, I'm like, so the reason why I know this is because with the cheat room you can download for Fallout 4, which I did because I didn't like the game. I have like two alien pistols. They both look the same, but they're two different legendaries, but they have like different mechanics. Like, yippee, you have an OP 9 mil, you have an OP Magnum. Like, dude, where's the? Give me where's the where's the artwork? Where's the hard work they did put for the legendary weapons and or the sorry unique weapons in Fallout New Vegas to Fallout 4? Like, show me, show me. An example would be in Russian Badger, he picks up a legendary baseball bat, but it looks like a regular bat. Unless the baseball bat being in almost like a great condition was supposed to make it stand out from a regular baseball bat. What the fuck does that have to, like, that doesn't do anything. And like I said, even if they are unique slash legendary weapons, you don't get much out of it. By that I mean the buffs that they offer you is so minuscule slash nothing, you wouldn't even want to use them. A great example is Maria is a 9 millimeter pistol, but overall has a bigger increase in damage, right? A bigger increase in damage, and has a better stat for like if you shoot to the head, you have a better chance of critting. That sounds amazing. That's great. You could have a legendary 10 millimeter pistol, and it'll say something like it'll do 10% more limb damage to ghouls. Why ghouls? Like, why only ghouls? That defeats the whole purpose of having like a legendary weapon be legendary, other than the fact that it's like someone's name or a hidden Easter egg or something like that. Because then after that point, the weapon just becomes a normal weapon with somewhat better stats. That's not what I really want in a game where if I try hard, I fight a big boss or I fight an enemy that was so prominent in the series to get its normal looking gun with a unique name and somewhat normal stats. Like, what? This is a joke, right? This has to be a joke. That's overall like a bad idea. Not only that, the factions in Fallout 4 feel like thrown out. And to put it in perspective of what I mean, uh, Fallout New Vegas had three major factions, which were New California Republic, Caesar's Legion, and Robert's House. Robert's House is like the main machine taking over the strip, basically. The minor factions, hear these out, are the Boomers, Brotherhood of Steel, Enclave, Followers of the Apocalypse, and Great Khans. Why do I mention these factions? Is because they have, first off, there's only three major factions in New Vegas, while and Fallout 4, apparently there's four, right? One, two, three, four. Yeah, there's four. So we have one less, but like it makes it up anyways. The reason why I'm saying this is because each faction has its own enemies slash like companions, and they're neutral to others. For example, Caesar Legion doesn't care about the Brotherhood of Steel, but then the Caesar Legion also care about the New California Republic. The New California Republic, Caesar Legion hate each other. Same thing as the NCR also hates the Brotherhood of Steel. They hate each other. But since if you let's say you go with the NCR, but you go to house or yeah, you go to house and you tell him, or sorry, it's not house, it's Yes Man. If he takes over and you tell Yes Man what you want to do with like a certain faction, minor faction, then it'll happen. So let's say I side with the NCR, but I love the Boomers, Brotherhood of Steel, but then I hate everyone else. I befriend Boomers and Brotherhood of Steel, so they'll fight for me towards the end of the game, but then I have an option to either ignore the other factions that I mentioned and leave them alone and they don't partake in nothing and no blood is shed or whatever, or you eliminate the faction. As in, you go over there, you blow it up, you kill everybody, you kill the leader, you do whatever you need to do to get that faction dealt with, because after that point they're not coming back and your reputation is completely fucking ruined with that faction. After that, the factions you wanted to join you help you in the final fight. For Fallout 4, these factions barely feel fleshed out, and overall they just feel like a fucking mess. It's a terrible disaster to say the least. Give you perspective of the four main factions you'll get in Fallout 4, which are the Brotherhood of Steel, Railroad Institution, and the Commonwealth Minutemen. Now, these factions don't even feel like anything special. I'm gonna just say point blank period. These don't feel special because the Brotherhood of Steel, you literally find within maybe not even half an hour of playing the game, you will find Paladin Dance, which is a Brotherhood of Steel, and you help him out, and he'll basically drag your ass to the fucking Brotherhood of Steel. Fucking awful. Railroad, you find them later on when you go past or you start walking to Diamond City, so they're not something great. The Institution, you find very late in the game. Spoiler, your son's there. So Ditto. And then the Commonwealth Minutemen are the people you help originally that have like the cool crank laser rifles. Out of all of these factions, I'm biased, as in Brotherhood of Steel all the way. But even here, the Brotherhood of Steel felt very degraded and just overall pathetic. Paladin Dance, who's wearing power armor, is shitting his pants because he has to deal with a little mob of ghouls when he has two other people helping him out. I'm like, you have power armor. Like, what the fuck? Power armor is so unique because it's made to take hits. So why is he freaking out only dealing with a handful of these? Not only that, also for New Vegas, the only way you could get power armor is to steal it from a you can steal it from a dead Brotherhood of Steel, but you lose karma because of it, or you befriend the Brotherhood of Steel and do their quest, and eventually they'll give you a really low set of power armor, but it's power armor nonetheless. And for that would take you hours because you have to find the bunker. You'd have to deal with a lot of dialogue and a lot of stuff. So yeah, it'll take you a lot longer. Here, you literally find your first Brotherhood of Steel within maybe an hour less than walking out of your neighborhood. Like they're right there. Same thing with like you find dog meat. He's in a gas station. Cool, I guess. Like, why are they shoving all of this in your face? Continuing with this, the power armor I'm talking about literally is like you don't have a face plate on. Your right arm is exposed, and your left leg is just nothing but the skeleton pieces. I guess I don't fucking know. And you have to use a power core now uh with these power suits or power armor, excuse me. What? You telling me I just can't have enough physical and intelligence to rock it? No, you just bang a core in there and you're fucking rocking, dude. Apparently that's what Bethesda said about that. They just said put a core and you're ready to go. And in Fallout New Vegas, you have two options, and if you meet the requirements on your own, you could just put on the power armor. But if you don't, you have to go through training and then you put it on. And the reason why I put quotations, if you didn't see because you have me in the background and stuff, I put quotations because it's basically your screen goes black, some text goes by and tells you the basics of your power armor. And yeah, not only that, your power armor, like in New Vegas, doesn't require uh the fucking core, which is a pathetic attempt if they were trying to nerf slash control the Brotherhood of Steel power armor, which admittedly feels like nothing because there's so many types and they have their own unique specifications, which um is not a problem with me. It's just the fact that there's so many types. Like, what the fuck what were you supposed to know? Again, there could be some like archive or some shit as you play with the Brotherhood of Steel that tells you the specifications for each armor set. But I haven't played long enough, and I haven't seen anyone play Fallout 4 in such a long time to tell me. So I can't put any opinions on that. Overall, pyro armor in Fallout 4 was terrible. Was terrible because now it's not like the whole set breaks basically as in like your right leg is crippled. It's like your right top leg is crippled and then your right bottom leg is like crippled. Like it's a whole fucking shit show. And again, you having to worry about having cores on you to power your suit makes additional no sense, because now why bother having power armor when these cores cost like 3,000 caps or more and shit, base tier too, and they're almost incredibly rare to find them. So either you're using cheats to get a shit ton, you're using money and time to find a handful of them, and yeah, that's basically about it. That's the only way you can get those ships for the cores for your power armor. Other than that, the story in Fallout 4 is admittedly very piss poor slash terrible, because your son gets kidnapped. You wake up out of cryo. Your whole community town is destroyed. You were never supposed to wake up originally, anyways, as well. Everybody else was supposed to die so that they could go out and live the world how they wanted. But nope. Apparently you're the one lucky person and got out without being completely frozen to death or whatever. So ditto, and the whole story goes: you go to find your son. Hours later, your son's the head of the institution, which is basically where they have like synthetics and, well, not really actually. Um, Basically, have they're really good with laser energy weapons and technology. That's really about it. While the Brotherhood of Steel apparently has like now uses regular guns, and the reason why I'm saying this is because the Brotherhood of Steel in New Vegas at least were always using energy weapons, which I'm kind of getting used to slash better with them now. So that's really good. The Commonwealth, I don't fucking give a shit about them, and I don't know them. They're really boring, I guess. And then the railroad, another same shit, boring. I don't give a shit. And it's basically they try to follow the same fall layout they did for the previous Fallouts, in which is they place you on choosing your main faction, your kind of second faction, and then either you hate the last two factions. That's really it. And the reason why I say you could slash do hate the last faction is because you probably have to have a war. I've seen a video online where it's like the Brotherhood of Steel attacks the institution. So like, yeah, because every faction hates someone else. So the Brotherhood of Steel hate the institution, the Minutemen hate synthetics, so they hate the railroad, and then the railroad hates the Commonwealth Minutemen because they hate synthetics, which are fake people, just machines with somewhat looking skin. It's like a Terminator, basically, just a robot with skin and shit. Not only were the factions terrible, their fucking companions were also terrible too, dude. Let me find you. Off the bat, I can tell you now the main two that I remember from playing the game for the fucking week and a half that I played with was Cosworth and Dogmeat and Nick Valentine. And I only know Nick Valentine because he was a synthetic detective following some case or whatever. And I've seen some big YouTuber play him or talk to him, and he just stuck Random Piper. She's in Diamond City. She's like another detective. But the 13 permanent uh companions you get in Fallout 4 is Cosworth, Dogmeat, Preston Gravy or Garvey, whatever, Piper, Curie, Robert McCready, Nick Valentine, Katie, Strong, John Hancock, Deacon, Paladin Dance, and X688. Those were the only companions you could get, or the permanent companions, as they say in the whole game, that you could hit. Of course, you can only have two at a time. They didn't change that. I'm glad they didn't, because it'll be pretty weird having three now. But do these companions make an impact? Absolutely not. Personally, again, they just don't feel fleshed out. Dogmeat follows you around and barks. His passive perk is like he finds shit on his own. I guess I don't know. I don't even know what the fuck Cosworth's passive perk is. Cosworth is a fucking terrible companion. Uh, conversation wise and everything, it's terrible. I don't know who the fuck Preston. I think I know who Piper is. She's from Diamond City, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know who the fuck Kirby, Robert, Katie Strong, John Hancock, Deacon, or the NX or XX, whatever the fuck, testosterone or whatever. I don't know any of these companions, and because of it, I can't really say whether or not they're great or not. All I know is that in Fallout 4, they didn't give a shit about companions because they feel so meh. Like some of their quest is terrible, and just overall, they're not great companions, dude. Like they just they don't feel fleshed out. They don't feel fleshed out, and yeah, some of the minor factions, if there is any minor factions, and Fallout 4 to close this out are the Atom Cats, Gunners, Forge, Dime City, Security, Neighborhood Watch, Public Occurrences, Church of the Children of Adam, the Cabot Family, Raiders, Covenant, Triggermen, and Pillars of Community. So many of these side factions or minor factions, as they're called in the game, you don't. I've never heard someone mention these, and I've never seen anyone talk about them either. Maybe pillars of the community. I've seen them once in like a gameplay watch through that I was doing. Sorry, not that I was doing, but I was watching, and it was overall just man, there. It like out of 10, this game was like a fucking two, two, three. There's nothing memorable about this game. The game looks pathetic, normal, and just overall not a great experience if you're jumping from New Vegas to this. New Vegas is old, and yet I love the way it looks. Fallout 4 is newer, and the look on it looks like Call of Duty Modern, Call of Duty Ghost. It looks like that. I have no idea why, but it does. Now, quick 100% disclaimer: I have never played slash watched much of Fallout 76. I've basically only watched the review that Angry Joe did on the game and some other people watching it too, and that's about it. But I did collect some information on it though. So let's see where it's at. Where it's at. Did I copy it on any of these pages? No, I think it's on one of the future pages. Whoops. All right, give me like 1 segundo. Okay, I don't know if I said this earlier, but I'll mention it now. Fallout 4 made $750 million and sold around 12 million copies of Fallout 4. Now, Fallout 76 made the same amount or around the same amount, 750 million, and sold 15 million copies. And the game literally broke Bethesda's bank because it apparently took them all the money they had in the budget to make it. And the money in the budget was $100 million. It took 107. Sorry, it took $100 million to make 76. Where the fuck did that money go? I'm not gonna accept the fact that Bethesda had $100 million in their pockets and blew it, and the game still came out terrible. We're like, what? What the fuck were you doing? Were you just not giving a shit until it was too late, and you had to do a No Man's Sky and rush everything out unpolished and shit? That was, oh, dude. When I saw when I heard at PAX via like my YouTube video that Fallout 76 is going to be like a multiplayer game or like PvP, I was like, whoa, Bethesda, you're making a huge cash grab right there, slash a terrible mistake. This whole time you've been playing solo first person shooter post apocalyptic setting. Now to have multiple people playing in the same game is a bit concerning because where's the learning curve? First off, not only did you joining into Fallout 76 sound like a Call of Duty lobby, because people had no idea how to mute their mics, they didn't know when to just shut up, or overall say racist slurs because they just wanted to hear what the people on the other side would hear. It was a terrible experience. Why the fuck would I want a game like a solo RPG game to turn into a multiplayer fuckfest? That was the wrong way of doing it. I personally, my idea thoughts would have been have it PV more or less co-op and have a different section altogether to have what is it, like multiplayer, um like survival slash PvP. How I would have done it is, let's say your friends and your group want to play PvP, make it almost like a Rust 7 Days to Die type of scenario where you spawn couple groups or like a battle royale, I guess, a couple groups in a map, let them collect all their stuff and have their own safe zones and play like that. And the reason why I say safe zone is last thing you want to do is go to sleep and have some dudes come into your base because they found a cheap broken way to break down your steel door and just raid your stuff. Like that could be unfair, but of course that could be all set up in the menu or whatever. So you could have a host make so that there's safe zones, there's no stealing enemy teams thing. If it's not within the safe zone, blah blah blah, and then it could be more fair slash compact for the game and all that. And then they have a co-op where you can be an amazing gunslinger slash medic and the other person can be more of a lockpith, charm, talking person, and a barter skill that's like through the roof. Now, the reason why I'm saying that would have been a great idea is because now you would have you're playing the game and you're playing with a friend, and overall, if you have a great friend that loves Fallout, you would have an amazing time. Another thing is there was no NPCs at the beginning of the game at launch. Bethesda, when have you ever played another Fallout game and it was only all holotapes and machines with no personality whatsoever? Like, I don't remember any of that in the other Fallout. But like, why would you want to do that in this one? The new hyped up Fallout 76 with no NPCs. Just run around collecting holotapes, collect those mixtapes, and listen to the same trash for like a bajillion times before they make another update, which they probably did, and add NPCs. What? Who on board thought of that? That was a terrible idea. And then another things that I don't really like they added in the game was like the hunger mechanic, and VATS is totally useless now. And the reason why I'm saying that is because since you're playing on a multiplayer server where it's like everyone is playing at their own time, pace, whatever, the problem with that is VATS becomes useless because VATS slows down time and gives you more or less a big general awareness because you can flick through enemies and shit. So now that whole mechanic is out the window. And what I mean by it's out the window, you can't use it. It's more better using your aim and your controls than having VATS do it, because VATS is broken since now everything is not slowed down. Everything is going at current speed. You're basically using a literal shitting sorry, a literal shit worthless aimbot. It's terrible. Wall hacks, whatever you want to call it, it's terrible. Unless you hack the game and then you actually use better wall hacks, but potato. It's terrible. And the percentage bars change depending on if the target's moving. So if the target's still 90% and they move like 2 inches, it drops down to 20/10%. It's terrible. Uh let's see where we got here. We're getting pretty close to the podcast. I really didn't cover that much, but eh. Also, for information, the only reason why Fallout New 76 made how much they did was because a lot of people looked at the Fallout name of it and joined in and didn't look at the description slash, reviews. Because if they knew that Fallout was going to be a PvP survival game, they would not have touched it, I bet, because the experience is going to be a whole different ball game. So the only reason why it made $750 million was because it was being carried by the previous better games reputation. The reputation basically covered the shitty reviews that were spreading online and whatever, and people bought it and it made the same amount. So that's the reason why 76 got to where it got now. It's terrible. Some little details here are the major factions in 76 are the Enclave, Brotherhood of Steel, Raiders, the Responders, and the Free State. And minor factions are the Cult of the Mothman, Order of Mysteries, and the United States Army and Pioneer Scouts. 76 companions were Beckett, Rudy Punk, Commander Darkroot, and Settle Fragger, or Frogger, or whatever. Overall, 76 was a fucking 0 out of 10. They could have done a lot better, and with the budget they had, which was around $750 million, where the fuck did it go? Was the money spread too thin when it came to having multiple companies slash little groups working on it? Bethesda had something around like 20 or 30 people or groups or clans or whatever working on this game. Was that where the fucking money disappeared? Was that each group was greedy to get a slice of the pie, and they couldn't get it in time? I don't know. Let me know what you think about your opinions, sorry, on all of this that I talked about in this podcast. If you made it this far, I'm very happy that you did. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you had me as background noise, I still appreciate it. Other than that, please stay safe. Um, Stay safe. Consider subscribing and tune in next time when we talk about another big game or something that caught my eye in the news. But, anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Stay safe, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Bye. Bye.